BBC Hereford and Worcester.
Tony McDonald with you through till 10 this morning on BBC Hereford and Worcester. Good to have your company this morning. An emergency debate is to be held in Parliament this afternoon on the scandal over contaminated blood, which is claimed to have cost more than 2,000 lives. There are increasing calls for a public inquiry into how haemophiliacs and others were infected with hepatitis C and HIV from imported blood products during the 1970s and 80s. The Labour MP Diana Johnson told the Commons that there was a case for the police to be brought in.
The Daily Mail set out evidence that as early as 1980, officials knew that 50 people with haemophilia a year were being infected with hepatitis C. Nothing was done about this for 5 years. Secondly, as reported in the Sunday Times, on Friday the 7th of July, the Westminster leaders of all 6 non-government parties in the House of Commons, including the Democratic Unionist Party, wrote a joint letter to the Prime Minister urging her to commit to a Hillsborough-style inquiry. And thirdly, yesterday, the Right Honourable Andy Burnham reaffirmed his commitment to refer cases of alleged criminality to the police and confirmed he has an appointment with the police on the 26th of July. We are now fast approaching the summer recess deadline. Yet what little comment the government have made has only added to the confusion and strengthened the case for this emergency debate application. It would appear that the Secretary of State for Health has not considered the dossier as promised on the 25th of April. And last week, both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the House of Commons responded to questions about the scandal, one from myself and the other from my honourable friend, the member for Newport East, yet neither addressed the direct question about the need for a public inquiry. Indeed, both raised further confusion by referring to the financial support for those affected as compensation, contradicting the position taken by previous ministers.
Well, let's get more on this from Colette Wintle, who's been affected by the scandal. Morning to you, Colette.
Good morning, Tony.
Just briefly recap what happened to you and how you are affected by this.
Yes, I was exposed to contaminated plasma from America as early as 1976. When I was a 17-year-old young girl, going in for a routine tonsillectomy, and I was further infected in 1982 when I left Scotland to move down to England to become a nurse. I had further exposure in 1985, again at a London hospital, at a point where the AIDS crisis had already hit, and stock that was being held in hospitals, instead of being removed from the shelves and destroyed, was being used on haemophiliacs without their knowledge.
So what do you think of these calls now for a public inquiry into this?
Not before time. As you're aware, I've spoken to your programme over many years now, and I have discussed with many of your colleagues the scandal and the depth to which it has gone and how many lives it has cost, which the British public clearly still remain, probably pretty unaware of the fact that, in peacetime we've had a scandal in the NHS that has cost the lives of 2,500 haemophiliacs. That's one heck of a number who've died in silence, in agony behind closed doors. And no one has done anything about it. It's not before time that this debate has been called. There's been far too many debates, I'm afraid to say, and many of them I've attended, and something should have been done by now. But what we have here is a resistance by government over many, many years, and many colours of government have refused to address this scandal because they know perfectly well that the state is at fault. They know that there was negligence, and they've resisted any calls to answer the questions which myself and many others have presented to the Department of Health, to ministers, and various prime ministers over the years.
So, in the end, if you get some progress with this, what would that feel like to you?
Well, justice, because that's what I've been calling for years, for the lives that have been lost, and for my own life, which I fear for, because I'm constantly in fear of developing liver cancer. I shouldn't be in this position. People have suffered tremendous losses of unimaginable scale It's not just being, made ill. It's always subsequent effects, the ripple effect of that damages family life, damages loss of income, and all the other things that come with it. I've always wanted the truth to come out, and it angers me greatly that, there's been opportunity after opportunity to deal with this, and it's been failed.
Do you think the inquiry will happen? Are you confident of that?
I think the weight and body of evidence that is out there, which I've spoken about over and over, is waiting to be seen, and it will be criminal by a criminal act by the Prime Minister if at this stage now she refuses to react and allow an inquiry to let the information come out. I was a witness at Lord Archer inquiry. I also was gave written evidence to the Penrose inquiry, and neither of those had it in their remit to actually find fault or to, get resolution and the truth.
Colette, thank you very much. I'm afraid we're short of time, but thanks very much for that. That's Colette Wintler, who's been, affected by that scandal over contaminated blood, which is claimed to have cost more than 2,000 lives, increasing calls for a public inquiry into that.